Welcome back everyone. Today I will be going over the third and fourth layers of the Hetalia Iceberg made by Romano Piss Bucket on Instagram. If you have not watched the first part where I go over the first and second layers, I suggest you do so before watching this video. I will leave a link to it in the pinned comment. For now, let's venture further down into the depths of this iceberg. We start off this layer with Tumblr raids, something that has happened a few times over the fandom's history. Basically, some groups of Tumblr users get a wild hair up their ass and decide to raid the Hetalia fandom spaces because they hate the series so much. I think the last time these raids happened, Discord servers were raided, so that was a whole mess. I honestly don't know what these users gain from going on these raids, moral superiority or what. It just comes off as chronically online bullshit when that time can be better spent elsewhere. I think I heard a rumor a while back that some users involved in the raids were tied back to 4chan, which honestly would not surprise me. It does make things humorously ironic since anti-Hetalia people tend to do it out of social justice, yet the fandom has such large groups of people of color, LGBTQ+ people, disabled people, and then to have the raiders possibly linked back to 4chan, it's like a comedy sketch. Second up is kink memes. This is something that NSFW accounts do. They either create or reblog existing kink meme requests so people can request specific pairings with kink scenarios. And the owners of the accounts then create content with their requests, whether it be artwork or writings. Not every NSFW account does this, mind you, but it is pretty common. US-UK canon hoax is next, and I believe this was brought up in one of Kolko's videos back in 2017. To summarize things, there is no sufficient evidence and what is brought forward is inconsistent. While there has been US-UK content made in the Hetalia art style, this is fan art copying the anime art style, which is pretty common in the fandom, even I have done it multiple times. Actually, it's not just a thing in the Hetalia fandom, but many fandom spaces where artists copy the style of shows, games, and manga. The most popular example I can think of is with My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I've also heard murmurings of US-UK being canon due to a fan-made drama CD being mistaken as canon material. While Hetalia has had drama CDs before, none of them confirm US-UK as canon. Hashtag ShutUpGringo2020 was a hashtag started on Twitter in, well, 2020. It was a primarily Latin Hetalia fanbase response to people throwing a fit over Hetalia's existence again. The word gringo is already pretty well known, but for those who don't know, it's basically a Spanish/Portuguese word that refers to a foreign person. It's mainly known to be used by Mexicans towards Anglo-Americans or Americans that aren't Latino or Latinos that aren't perceived as such, mainly because they don't speak Spanish. Gringa is the feminine version of the word. Some try to argue that gringo is a slur, which I'm going to be honest, as a white person, I just don't see it that way. You might also be familiar with the hashtag Do the Encanto fandom as a response to people throwing a fit over fan art of the character cast because white Latinos exist. I mean, yeah, just look at states like Nuevo León, Mexico, or Paraná, Santa Catarina, or in Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil, the city of Buenos Aires, and Buenos Aires province, Argentina, hell, the country of Uruguay. They all have major concentrations of people with European descent. That's immigration for you. Anyway, let's move on or this video will be too long. After that, the next topic on the layer is LiveJournal. For those who don't know, LiveJournal is a Russian-owned social media website where users can keep a digital journal. Hetalia has, or had, its own community on there, and I managed to go through most of the pages, which actually helped in researching some of the topics on this iceberg. It was more active during the early to mid-2010s and has been pretty inactive ever since. Himahus is a real-life crack pairing between Himaria and Andrew Hussey, the creator of Homestuck. This came up due to the massive crossover between the Hetalia and Homestuck fanbases back in the early to mid-2010s. I'll admit though, I kinda feel like the odd one out since I never got into Homestuck. Like, I tried reading it, but I found myself disinterested and dropped it early. This crossover between both franchises will be brought up later on in the layer, so let's carry on. Next is 3P and 4P, which honestly, based on the image results I found while looking it up, just looks like a contest for which character form is the most edgy and shops the most at Hot Topic. Not gonna lie, that's a bit of a self-roast considering I am an edgelord and I have definitely been to Hot Topic a number of times in my life. Yeah, this is a fan-made thing, so there's not really one main source to go to for this, and it's kind of a niche thing and I don't really see it around much anymore. Our next subject is about Prussia and whether he is dead or dying. Prussia's status after the state was officially dissolved in 1947 has been subject to debate since Prussia does show up after that year and into modern times. Maria hasn't exactly given a straight answer to this, but the most commonly believed theory is that Prussia now represents East Germany. It would explain why he calls Germany West at times, but the thing is, the first time Prussia is shown calling Germany this was in early World War II, when Prussia still technically existed. Yeah, Prussia's lore in the series is pretty confusing. This isn't even the only confusing thing about him, since while his profile states he avoided marriage like the plague, in history, Prussia did have a union with Brandenburg, a present-day state of Germany. Unions tend to be portrayed as marriages in the series, so what happened? Was it not a marriage, or is Prussia lying about not being involved in marriages? The world may never know the exact answer to this since Maria is a troll. The Hetalia Bloodbath of 2010 is probably one of the most well-known bloodbath events. If you don't know what bloodbath events are, they are basically Christmas specials. Why are they called bloodbaths? I have no idea, but people used to look forward to these sorts of specials. In this bloodbath, the characters celebrate Christmas and answer fan mail until it is interrupted by nations disappearing under mysterious circumstances, and it's up to the remaining characters to figure out what is going on. This event is known as the birthing place of many memes in the fandom, ship teas among already existing pairings and new ones, and nations stripping, because that's something that happens in comic specials way more than you think. These next two entries regard people well known in the fan base. The first being Captain Jelly Rolls, an artist known for his mainly US-UK art and animations. A few popular animations include Heat Haze Days US-UK version, Can't Sleep Love animation meme, and a cancelled animation of Milk and Cookies. He has since moved on from the Hetalia fandom to work on two original webcomics, Skyphoria and Tease Party. Skyphoria follows personified weather patterns and seasons, while Tease Party is a more personal story, retelling a severe psychotic episode from April 2020. If you are interested, both original comics can be read on skyphoria.cloud. And here's a familiar topic, since I'm guessing a lot of you guys started to know of me because of this person, but yep, Hetafax/Coco has her own section on the Iceberg. I still remember her being one of the first Tumblr blogs I followed when I started using the website. I also remember watching some pretty early videos she made on her channel. I actually didn't make myself somewhat known in the comment section of her videos for a long time because I was a bit hesitant to speak up, yet when I started to, it almost came natural. It's been a while since then. We've both grown. I'm now an admin on her Discord server and we don't really talk, but mainly because we got our own lives, but things are pretty good between us. Oh, so we get to discuss this incident again. Everyone who stepped inside the Hetalia fandom knows about the Anime Boston 2010 incident. For those who somehow don't, strap in. According to this post on LiveJournal, the Hetalia photo shoot had to be moved elsewhere, and someone thought to lead everyone over to the Prudential Center for the photo shoot to take place. I'm not familiar with these place names since I'm not from Boston or Massachusetts, so forgive me for my ignorance on that. There was a Holocaust memorial about a block away from where the photo shoot was taking place, and multiple cosplayers did a Nazi salute known as Heiling. What makes this worse is that it happened during Passover and Easter, one of the biggest holidays for Jewish and Catholic people. Based on the posts I found from people at the event, the backlash was immediate in the fandom, which is why I find it so strange that people continue to use pictures to argue against liking the series, because it's always been criticized by people in the fandom. I don't know if the people spreading those pictures just don't know about how immediate and permeating the backlash has been, or they do and just want to be spiteful. These next two entries are Hetalia fan games that, admittedly, I've never played through. While I do vaguely remember seeing pieces of a Let's Play for the second game, I've not seen Let's Plays for this entry, Dreamtalia. Dream Hetalia is a fan game made by Kyokun and Piano Dream, where basically a mysterious dream creature takes over Italy's mind, and it's up to the usual main cast of the Axis and allies to try and get rid of the creature before it's too late. Basically, if you've ever seen fan art or cosplays of Italy where parts of his body are blackened, in particular half of his face, it's from this game. Dream Hetalia actually breaks the mold of usual fan games since it's completed with a sequel in production. Other than that, I can't really comment on the story or appearance of the game visually because I've never watched any Dream Hetalia content, but feel free to check it out if the premise interests you. Corpse Hetalia is something I brought up in the previous video, but is a crossover fan game of Hetalia Corpse Party. If you don't know what Corpse Party is, it is a Japanese survival horror game. Basically in the game, a group of students are celebrating a cultural festival. Due to one of them transferring to another school, one of the others decides to perform a charm she found online called Sachiko Ever After, with the goal of binding everyone's friendships. However, this goes wrong, and after an intense earthquake, the group finds themselves separated and trapped in an alternate dimension in a school that was torn down long before the school they currently attend due to multiple tragedies. To make matters worse, the spirits of those killed put the group's lives and sanity in danger. The original game was created back in 1996 as a PC 98 game, and years later would be remade first as a mobile game, then PC, then PlayStation Portable game, and even a Nintendo 3DS release, though you might also be aware of the series from the anime adaptation. Corpse Hetalia pretty much follows the original plot, though replace our main student cast with personified nations, and I don't believe it was ever finished, which is not uncommon among Hetalia fan games. This little section covers two things, and I hope YouTube doesn't decide to be a prick over this, but it's Spain's ass and Germany's milkers. Let's admit it, this mainly comes from the fan art of the two, especially that one infamous Spain fan art of him in that matador costume that accentuates his fatter than my cat ass. When it comes to Germany, it comes from borrow fans that like big fat mommy milkers on muscular men that could use their bodies as weights. I personally am not attracted to either, but people like what they like and can be very thirsty over it. Country Humans vs. Hetalia is this weird beef between the Hetalia and Country Humans fandoms. The best way I can describe it is Country Humans is like the embarrassing, cringy younger sibling to Hetalia, and Hetalia to Country Humans is like the nagging older sibling they say okay boomer to a lot. This isn't to say crossover between both fandoms doesn't exist, cause it does, but these are the vibes I get from the people in the fandoms who beef. Italy's Fingers refers to the original trailer of Hetalia World Stars showing Italy entering a world meeting late, but due to an animation error, his fingers are cut off. This was swiftly corrected, but there are still screenshots of it, and I even had the original trailer featured in one of my videos discussing details of the upcoming season. Honestly, I might still have that original video saved somewhere on one of my flash drives. This next entry is something I honestly have no clue about and I struggled to find any pertinent information on, and that is Spanish Hetatweet versus English Hetatweet. My guess is it had to do with beef from both sections of Hetatweet, and based on the fact more recent activity under the Hetatweet hashtag is from Spanish users, I guess the Spanish side outlived the English side. From what I could gather, this beef probably would have been more active around 2020 and 2021, when Hetatweet was more popular. While I did have a Twitter account made around in 2021, it's a not safe for work account, so that's probably why I didn't hear anything going on. The next subject on here is Roadshow on national news. On February 16, 2010, CCTV News, state-owned television station in China, was talking about the Chinese flag being in a space capsule and what people would say if they were up in space when the piece of fan art was displayed. This isn't actually the only time Hetalia fan art has been displayed for the greater public to see. Lietpol fan art was also displayed on a Lithuanian news station. Eurovision's 2016 fan art featuring Romania and Moldova was reposted on Facebook after the singer representing Moldova saw it. A police academy in Romania posted a photo which was Hetalia fan art to their Facebook page, and more recently, Russian state television featured fan art of Russia. I guess what can be learned from this section is that the chance of your Hetalia fan art being featured on the news is unlikely, but never 0%. We bring it back around to Hetalia and Homestuck with Hetastuck, basically a love child between the two series. It could also refer to the pairing between the personified fandoms, which, yes, is apparently a thing. I guess if it exists, it can be personified. I wonder what internet rule that would be. Now on to fan-made dubs/subs. Fan-made dubs are mainly done of the comics, whether they be official or fan-made. Of course, this isn't an uncommon thing, it's done in many different fan bases. As for fan-made subs, the most likely reference is yayyyy Subs, which was a group in charge of fan subbing Hetalia episodes until around the end of the second season. They were mainly known for taking great liberties in translating the original Japanese script, one instance of which will be discussed later in the video. Splitting off slightly is the next subject, Spanish dub. There's not exactly one source of a Spanish dub, just different users that dub parts of the series in Spanish. It seems there's quite a sizable Spanish fanbase for Hetalia, which really makes you wonder when Himurua will ever personify nations like Mexico, Peru, and Argentina. Seeing how there have been references to nations in that area, it might not be too long assuming Himurua isn't trolling. Next up on the layer is Hetalia Impreg. If you don't know what Impreg is, when two men love each other very much, I'm kidding, it's short for male pregnancy. It's more common for it to be included in Omegaverse or ABO fanworks, which is a fandom-verse thing where characters are categorized into either alphas, betas, or omegas based on inaccurate hierarchy of wolves. Basically, alphas have stereotypical masculine traits, omegas have stereotypical feminine traits, and betas just exist. So because omegas can get pregnant regardless of their birth sex, it makes it a breeding ground, no pun intended, for male pregnancy works. Personally, I'm not into omegaverse or male pregnancy in general, but I'm not about to judge anyone for their tastes. Norway statue hoax is next here, and it regards a statue in Norway, with it being rumored that a fan from there loved the series so much they had a statue of presumably Norway made for all to see. However, it was later proven that the statue had nothing to do with Hetalia, and the only thing similar was the sailor uniform both statue and character wear. This entry regards the Prince of Y, and the fact on September 13, 2010, he posted on his blog a painting of Y from Hetalia. Along with the painting was the phrase, Y believes that all disagreements between nations, large and small, should be resolved by art, music, and poetry competitions, along with lyrics from the Micronations anthem. The post was later updated, naming the series the character is from. But yeah, Y's Prince is aware of Hetalia and the character that personifies his micronation. Guess it makes you wonder if other officials higher up in different nations are also aware. So this entry regards a short video America's English voice actor Eric Vale made roasting Donald Trump in the character's voice. According to the post of the video on Tumblr, the actor was paid $30 to dunk on then US President Donald Trump, and it was the easiest request he received, according to him.
Well, Camille, we're going to call this the easiest cameo that I've done yet. I'm a huge fan of America, the country, as well as characters. Thank you very much. So, to do what you have requested is going to require very little effort on my part. So, hey, Donald Trump, here's an idea. How about you totally go fuck yourself with your own foot? I'm sure it would fit all the way up that giant fucking asshole of yours. And also just wanted you to know that as America, I watched the debate performance last night, and you're a piece of human garbage. Actually, you're worse than a piece of human garbage. You're a piece of shit based on the fact that somebody ate garbage. That's all you are. Also, everybody deserves to be happy in America, not just the people who you like. The only people who don't deserve to be happy in America are you goddamn piece of shit. Cheeseburgers!
I don't think there's much else to say other than it's a well-deserved roasting. The next topic on here regards a single scene from the Halloween 2013 event, where America and England are apparently having a rematch of some sort, and then the art style changes to that of South Park. No, I do not know why Himurua did this, or what he was on when he decided to do this. I guess the one positive is that it's a pretty good style imitation. Our next item, and god fucking damn it, I can't get away from this fanfiction, can I? Anyway, it's the Danish slaughterhouse. If you somehow don't know what it's about, basically Denmark takes the Nordics to his newly bought mansion and messed up shit happens. Let's just say there's a very good reason why some people can't make it past chapter 6. It's definitely made its mark on the fandom, and I am a part of that history since I made plain readings of the entire fanfiction. Up next is real-life events being used as fan material, which is such a weird topic to tackle. We've already discussed mishandling sensitive history, but when it comes to real-life events happening in the present, things are always subject to change. I'm also not sure if everyone is comfortable indulging in content that has real-life events in it, like if a fanfiction had the COVID-19 pandemic going on in it, considering it hits so close to home for so many. By me, hi, hello. I wrote this prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Wow, that shows how long this has been a work in progress. I know there's definitely something to be said about people using the invasion to make content, and I think there's a difference between venting about the situation, mainly if you are affected by the situation negatively, and trying to push an agenda about how, no, really guys, Russia is in the right about invading Ukraine. I think it's a pretty big difference, but not everyone is going to agree with me on that. But Ghost, you say, can't they just keep the venting stuff to themselves? I'll be honest in that I used to think similarly to this, mainly because I didn't understand why others would want to vent openly about their traumas, seeing as I've been so secretive about mine, and to this day still haven't told many people in real life about things that have happened to me. It wasn't until it was explained to me how this idea of you should only vent/cope in private is harmful, since it tells those affected that whatever they may feel about their trauma is shameful and wrong. Plus, posting content venting/coping can help in finding other survivors affected. At least now I can spread this information to others to try and destigmatize vent/cope content being posted publicly. Next up is Hut River dying from COVID. It's basically a headcanon that was born from real life, Hut River dissolving during the COVID-19 pandemic. Though this headcanon is a bit inaccurate because what really caused Hut River to dissolve was the principality not paying millions in taxes. Of course, the pandemic did not help financial matters, but I think it was inevitable due to all those unpaid taxes stacking up. Basically, what you can learn from this is, pay your fucking taxes. Second to last on this layer is Mochi America sculpture. I'm not entirely sure what this refers to, since while I've seen Mochi merchandise in the form of plushies and paper crafts, I haven't seen sculptures. My best guess is this was a clay sculpture for an art class in school, and if it makes you guys feel better, I also made a Mochi sculpture for an art class that got lost after it was graded. Rest in peace, Mochi Romania, you are dearly missed even if I kinda botched her hat. The final item on here goes over canon sexualities. The title is a bit of a lie though, since there is really only one canon sexuality, and that's Sweden being gay. With that said, there has been controversy over pairing Sweden with female characters, which I want to discuss here and now. I personally don't care if people pair Sweden with women, and here's why. At the end of the day, regardless of whether people create content pairing Sweden with women or not, the original representation will still be there. It's not ruined or destroyed if someone pairs Sweden with, let's say, Ukraine for example. I've seen people get really fired up when Zufin has one of the characters in their Neo form, which I just don't see a reason for. Neo characters have their own personalities, so maybe someone just likes playing around with that. I just don't think it's worth throwing a fit over. First on the layer is Global Mpreg. This was apparently a Spanish fanfiction that has since been deleted, but from what I could gather, it was basically the main male characters having love children with each other. Because I lack information on the fanfiction, we are moving to the next item, which is Bottom Germany. The name is on the tin, it's Germany. On the bottom. Of the bunk bed, actually, it's him being on bottom when it comes to sex. While fanworks do tend to have him on top, there are sections of the fanbase that produce content of him being a bottom. They aren't just limited by language barriers. There are a couple known of Germany x England doujinshis where Germany is on bottom, and I believe I have seen them around on websites for reading hentai, so if you're looking for your burra bottoming fix, there you go. Third on the fourth layer is America States, and this probably has to do with how they are portrayed in the fandom. Unfortunately, past portrayals aren't that good. Many states were whitewashed, usually because they were portrayed as America's kids, which... that's not accurate. For example, Alaska was often portrayed as a Rusame love child that still missed Russia despite being a part of the US, which brings some icky connotations considering the Alaskan native tribes living there and their treatment by Russia when Alaska belonged to the country. This also didn't end when America purchased Alaska, but I think I made my point. Not to mention it wasn't uncommon to personify the many Native American tribes as one person, usually a woman, as America's mother. This glosses over the diversity of all the native tribes in the United States and Canada and their own histories. Not only that, but it wasn't uncommon for this Native America character to be sexualized, even shipped or written in sexual situations with nations that colonized North America. While I'm certainly not against sexual content, it isn't exactly comfortable considering the long history of indigenous women in North America to be victims of violence, sexual crimes, and even murder, mainly by non-indigenous people. I'm thankful that this doesn't appear to be a thing anymore, as far as I know, and we can move forward more informed and understanding. Bald Talia is basically Hetalia, but every character is bald. I only became aware of it when it became a thing on Kolko's Discord server. No, I do not understand why people have a thing for making the characters look like grown-up Caillou. Maybe because of the crossover of people watching those Go Animate Caillou Gets Grounded videos, but that's just a guess on my part. So, this next topic discusses a real-life person. This person being Scott Freeman. He used to be England's English voice actor, though by me using past tense language you are probably wondering why he no longer voices England. He was charged for possessing child sexually exploitative material in April 2014. The following year, Funimation cut all ties with him after being made aware of his charges. In July 2015, he took a plea bargain, pleading guilty to all 8 counts and sentenced to 3 years in a Texas state prison. In 2018, he was paroled, and the most current information known about him was him residing in Nebraska as a registered sex offender. My memories of the fandom's reactions to this news are a little vague, but many were shocked and disgusted by this. Unfortunately, there were a few individuals that were in denial about him committing a crime. In a way, it's understandable because no one wants to be faced with the fact that someone they looked up to or liked has done horrible things, but at the same time, you don't know these voice actors personally. You just know them from their work and any interviews they've done or social media presence. You aren't their friends or acquaintances, you just admire them from a distance. PewDiePie Show's MACAN is a reference to one of PewDiePie's videos showing an MACAN meme. If you somehow don't know who PewDiePie is, he's a Swedish YouTuber who is incredibly popular for Let's Play videos. The actual thumbnail of the video is a little hard to find since he's uploaded so many videos over 12 years, but basically the meme he sees is a map of America and Canada with character faces on the countries doing stuff. YouTube, please don't take down this video, it's a map, please. The meme has made its way outside the Hetalia fandom and not everyone who has seen it knows its origins. Guess like your fan art appearing on national news, the chances of your memes reaching outside the fandom are unlikely, but never 0%. This next subject is a tough discussion and it regards the debate of France being a rapist. This is mainly stemmed in early comics of France showing him acting out in questionable ways, which will be discussed later in the video. However, he does state in canon that love should not be forced. He may be a bit of a pervert, a flirt, and big into love and passion, but that doesn't translate to him being a rapist. The whole belief of France being a rapist even bled into real life when people cosplayed France according to some stories online, which was absolutely not okay. Even if a character is morally bad, you should not treat cosplayers of the character poorly because of it. If you aren't mature enough to follow that rule, you probably shouldn't be attending conventions or other such cosplay gatherings. It seems we can't quite escape tough discussions on here because the following thing on the layer is problematic country OCs. This is unfortunately something I have seen because there are many ways personifying a country character can go wrong. A possible explanation for this, mainly regarding American creators, is that while one might have an interest in personifying a country to have a character in the series, when it comes to history education, school classes tend to be fairly Americentric, and even then, negative events that happen in American history aren't often discussed. I think one thing that can help curb this is piling together a massive pool of resources like history books, documentaries, websites, and other information for anyone who wishes to create a character. I already have a lot of history book PDFs that I can provide, and I can find PDFs for books I have physical copies of. On to the next topic, which is It's All in Kiku's Head. I couldn't find much on this topic, or more like theory, but I'm guessing it's like the Rugrats theory where Japan/Kiku takes a similar role as Angelica in that everything that happens in the series is all in his head. Now, because I couldn't find much on the topic, the specifics aren't exactly known, like whether certain nations would be based on people he knows/knew, or what would lead him to create this world, like falling into a coma, being institutionalized for serious mental health problems, or just being a hikikomori with a huge interest in history. Actually, the latter of the three sounds highly likely. But yeah, that's basically the topic in a nutshell. This next subject I couldn't find an exact story or source for, and that is Hetalia fans stalking a German. Either it's something that's been spreading around similarly to an urban legend, or the original post detailing this was deleted. I'm not saying this is a fake story, it wouldn't surprise me if it actually happened, considering the early days of the fandom were wild, but there's no concrete evidence of this happening, either happening or not happening, as of now. 5 meters is a dick joke regarding Prussia, basically during a discussion on Hetalia characters and their most likely penis lengths using the average size of countries. Because Prussia no longer exists as a country, someone either listed or joked about Prussia having a length of 5 meters and it caught on. Keep in mind 5 meters is around 16.4 feet, so even if you are the most extreme size queen or king or royalty, you cannot realistically fit 5 meters of cock up yourself. Next up is Donald Trump / America fan art, which, yeah, it exists and I've seen it myself. If you think that's bad, don't look up the Donald Trump tag on AO3 with the Hetalia fandom tag on. I've cursed people with what I've found on there, including myself. Hetalia Hello Kitty merchandise is next, and yes, this appears to be or have been an actual thing. Back in November 2015, there was an announcement of a crossover merchandise project with Hetalia and Hello Kitty with artwork of Hello Kitty versions of Germany, Italy, and Japan still out there. Whether or not merchandise was actually made, I'm not entirely sure. I know this iceberg says it was cancelled, but I couldn't find any articles definitively saying so. I know there's a lot of Hetalia merchandise that is only available in Japan and it doesn't make its way overseas, so for all I know there could have been actual merchandise or it could have indeed been cancelled. For now, I don't know. On to another topic, this having to do with the thoughts and feelings of some fans that believe 2P America is a racist stereotype. Now, to make things clear, only Fem 2P America was made by Himaria. The popular 2P America design you see around was based on Himaria's design. Regardless, both designs are under scrutiny over the fact that their skin is colored darker and there are implications that they are more violent, if that bat with nails they hold is any indication. It falls into the racist stereotype of people with darker skin being more violent. Now, while Himaria only made the design and didn't really add anything more to the 2P characters, the fandom back in the early 2010s hypersexualized 2P America and would often write him with a violent temper. One could argue, though, that the majority of people doing this were horny teenagers that did not understand the uncomfortable implications made by this. I mean, hell, when I was a teenager in the fandom, I'd write my own self-insert fanfics without aging myself up, or sometimes aging myself down. I'm not about to shame teenagers for being horny. Perhaps with this progression and aging of the fandom, we can start writing characters like 2P America with more nuance. This next topic covers 2 serious subjects, eating disorders and depression, so if you are sensitive to such topics, feel free to skip to the next item on the layer. The topic is America-centered eating disorder / depression fanfictions. From what I remember, the eating disorder stories came from an idea of nations living as humans before dying and being reincarnated as nations. America in this alternate universe suffered from an eating disorder, the type varying depending on the person writing, though I mainly remember him suffering from bulimia or binge eating disorder and passing away due to it. From what I remember of these stories, the eating disorders used were never really romanticized and it was portrayed quite realistically, which in retrospect makes me wonder if some of these authors were suffering from similar or the exact same issues and wrote to vent. When it comes to depression stories, it's more of a mixed bag, but the same retrospective thought could also be pondered on. I don't think it's too surprising for teenagers to vent that way, either with characters they project themselves onto, or their own original characters, and I kind of think there should be less shame around that sort of stuff, since there are way worse ways to vent out your own negative feelings. It's kind of like what I said in the topic earlier about me writing self-insert stories. People can vent that way. I didn't even share what I wrote, mainly because I didn't think highly of my own writings, but just getting it out there meant something. This next topic I struggled to find any information on at first, and that was the usage of the F word in a Hetalia fan-made sub. No, not fuck, the other F word. The one that shares a name with a type of meatballs from the United Kingdom and cigarettes. The reason I struggled to find information was because I genuinely forgot what context this translation would be made until I looked further and remembered the scene. Episode 48, or Season 2, Episode 22, had the usage of the F word and the fan translation. The context is Italy's voice breaking while Austria and Hungary listen in. This happens because, well, he's a teenager at the time, and his voice goes from sounding similarly to a little girl's voice to that of a boy, and I'm sure you guys know that voice cracking happens a lot in teenage boys. His reactions are translated by fans to, "Cool, my voice changed, I sound like a and I sound like a I really do." I'm not entirely sure where this translation came from, since the more appropriate translation was him commenting on how strange he sounds, and I'm not sure such language would be used during that time of history. Regardless, the Funimation dub used a variation of this fan-made sub. "I sound kind of like a homo, don't I?" I guess this is unsurprising since the English dub took great liberties in translations. Himaria's reflection on a spoon is a reference to a photo Himaria posted of some food, and there's a spoon that shows the reflection of someone. Contrary to the title of this entry, the reflection is most likely not Himaria because they are not sitting at the point where the picture would have been taken. And lastly is Spain and France's weird depictions in early comics. This is the root of the beliefs in the fandom Wild Days that France is a rapist and Spain is a pedophile. These early comics are not easy to find since they were deleted, and these weird depictions are no longer canon. As an example, one of these such comics was Spain being depressed over erotic paintings being burned, France trying to cheer him up by touching Chibitalia's butt and anus, and the two thinking about putting their penises inside him but not going through with it. Yeah, there's a reason those comics were deleted back in 2008 on Kitayume. They were bad taste jokes made over 10 years ago. I'm honestly not expecting Himaria to break his silence on those old comics. And that's for layers 3 and 4. See, I told you guys I'd get it out sooner than it took the first video. I hope you guys are enjoying the journey through the iceberg layers so far. For now, I will be working to get the next part on layers 5 and 6 out. I will see you guys next time.